Hey,
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I had an absolute blast watching this season of The Girlfriend Experience, and I really love what your character brings to the table. But most importantly, I love the themes that it really explores. And first and foremost, your character goes through this crazy change that left everyone looking like, why are you making this drastic decision? But I wanted to ask you personally because it's something that I really reflected with. Have you ever gone through a moment in your life where you really took this unroaded path that really shocked everyone around you to really follow your dreams and your interests?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I want to ask you about how that reflected in your life. That's really interesting. I think that I come from a family of academics, and I went to Columbia for a couple of years while I was filming a TV show called The Affair. We would film in the summer, and I would go to school during the year. I think my whole family thought like, oh, okay, but she's just going to graduate, and I haven't graduated yet, and I'm 26. It's taking so long because I keep taking breaks to work, and so I think that that's been very shocking in a family of scientists to do that. Um, so I guess I related to Iris on that level.
No, I definitely agree. I wanted to be a lawyer and I took the LSAT and everything. And then, yeah, I made this change going into corporate business and then also, too, going into entertainment. My mother, ironically, just told me today that she was proud of me and how scared she was that I did something different. So, you know what? It was a full circle. It was meant for me to talk to you today.
That's incredible. And also just receiving that sign off from mom is so important, like especially when
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
there
no,
you
no,
are.
no.
Okay, you're here. You were just being still. It's like, yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah, also too, Iris is on a very unexpected journey. But I find it really fascinating on how, because Iris is so smart, she's so highly intelligent, and how she views society, how she views the people that she come in contact with every single day. And I wanted to know for you, has that changed your view on how you perceive the world, how you perceive people you meet, or even honing in on your craft as well
Yeah, I
as an
think that
actress?
something that's so interesting about Iris is that she does sort of an exaggerated version of what I think that we all do in our personal lives and our professional lives, which is we present a different version of ourselves depending on who we're with. And she just does that to an extreme. And obviously, she's doing an experiment and she's involving science, emotion, tech, and AI, human behavior. Like it's very multifaceted for her purposes, but it did make me more keenly aware of how I'm performing in my life, even if it's to a small degree. How do I sort of behave when I'm talking to a man? How do I behave when I'm talking to a woman, to a child, to a parent, to an authority figure, to like, and so it's made me want to be more self-aware. And I think that that's nice.
No, that's really awesome. There's so many characteristics of Iris that, I was like, I want to be a little bit like Iris now. I want to move the way that she does. And I wanted to ask you specifically, is there a characteristic that Iris has, outside of her being so aware of her surroundings and her people around her, that you really wanted to incorporate it in your life after taking on this role and finishing the project?
Yeah, I'm obviously so impressed with Iris and her ability to compartmentalize her life and make this drastic move by herself to London, drop out of Harvard. Like, there's so many parts of her that I find so interesting. But actually, I really wanted to think about her vulnerability going into this character. And I didn't want to make her a superhero. She has a lot going for her. She's really smart, but she's still 26 and a young girl who isn't particularly supported, who's dealing with, the sickness of her father. And so I think that if anything, she's made me want to be more in touch with my own vulnerability and to allow it to transfer into action and into change and into, because that's what she does. She takes something deeply personal and she thinks, how can I change the world so that people in the future can have a better experience than my dad has I think that's one of her end games in doing all of this. But she's kind of just doing it in a convoluted way.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting that you say that, because after reflecting on watching the first couple of episodes, it really seems as though Iris puts the desires or the wants and needs of other people before her, whether that's through her research, through her work, trying to make sure that she can find a way to take care of her father. But I wanted to know, do you feel as though that Iris takes enough time to truly figure out what she wants? Like, does she understand this experiment that she's working on? Has she really self-reflected on herself as a subject?
I think you're like the only person to ask that question. I think it's such an important question, because I think that she's really running from herself. Wherever you go, there you are. She moves to London, she dyes her hair, she gets a new job, she starts pretending to be in relationship with various men, but really not having any authentic relationships. The connections are real moment to moment. And that's one of the things that I learned when I spoke to somebody who's a GFE in her real life. She said, the connections are moment to moment. You do feel emotion in the moment with that person, but ultimately the structure is not real. There are so many boundaries there. And so I think that Iris does everything in her, as drastically as she behaves in her professional life, her personal life, she's playing it so safe. She has no real, connections. She doesn't trust a lot of people. She doesn't really have any friends. And I think that the lack of self-awareness is something that goes into the trajectory of the show that ends up kind of getting her in trouble.
Yeah, and that I'm glad you brought up that you actually spoke to women who, this is their lives, right? I love that the show displays your character, but most importantly, these women, that they're regular people. They may be dealing with what some people may consider extreme circumstances that the average person hasn't been able to live a part of. But I wanted to know the experience on working on a project like this that paints women in such a good light. These are flawed characters, and we all have good and bad sides of us, but these are highly intelligent women, top of their class, hard workers, dedicated to their craft. I wanted to know what that experience was like working on a show like this.
Well, I think it's so cool that this show exists. I think it's still the tip of the iceberg in terms of stories that need to be told. We're talking about very privileged white women in a protected and high socioeconomic sector. And so it's great to see her empowered, and it's great to see her be sex positive. But there are so many, she doesn't speak for all women, obviously. And so I did think that this adds a lovely contribution to seeing more women who are professional, sex positive, ambitious, unlikable, all of those things on television. But we're just dipping our toe into the stories that need to be told.
No, I was so happy you said that, even just painting that she does come from a privileged world that she lives in. I think it's fascinating they also focus on that, but that the average viewer that were able to make that distinction while watching the series. So I'm happy.
You're freezing.
But I wanted to know if you wanted to have. Am I still frozen?
You're kind of back. You're back. Oh no.
I'm back.
Okay, I can this is a little bit better.
It's better. I'm so sorry. My internet clearly hates me during this panorama. I apologize.
You're fine. It might be mine.
No, I was just saying that I appreciate that you were able to make that distinction, and viewers hopefully make that distinction, that the world that Iris lives in is a very powerful and privileged world. I was happy that you're able to discern that, and also to the viewers who will be able to see that as well.
Yeah, I think.
But I wanted to know.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go. Oh no, you can go. I'm sorry. It's my internet. It's so terrible.
It's okay. You were saying, but I wanted to know.
No, I wanted to know if you had a happy ending for Iris, because we don't know how her situation ends up. What would be something that you would really hope that Iris were to be able to find if you wanted to provide like a happy conclusion for her?
If I wanted to provide a what? Sorry.
A happy conclusion. A happy conclusion.
Oh, a happy conclusion? That's a good question. I mean, it's hard because I don't want to project my values onto her. I think we're very different. I think that I think what would make her happy wouldn't make me happy. So I don't know how I can say that. I think that she does kind of get a happy ending in a sort of warped sense to the average viewer, but her work goes above everything else. That's the most important relationship she has in her life. And I think that some of the other dreams she has are a little bit more childlike, like she, wants to cure her dad's Alzheimer's. She wants to make sure her sister's okay. She has all of these dreams, but I just don't think that they're attainable. So she tries to create attainable dreams in her career as a method of control. And I think this is a happy ending.
I love that you said that. I didn't even think to look at that in that way, that what she wants is somewhat unattainable. I love that.
I think so.
But I do want to know, we talk so much about AI and technology, right? And some of the things, how we connect with people, how we share our wants and our desires. Has that changed your view working on this project, and how you view and how you consume technology, and what information you actually want to put out there?
Oh yeah, well this freaked me out because I just never really thought about, what I'm accepting when I hit accept terms and conditions and continue. Like I never thought about everything that all of the information that my phone is collecting about me and my computer, and how it's just basically learning what I want, even sometimes before I know what I want. And so this has really opened my eyes to that. I think that, I don't know, being able to learn from these amazing tech consultants and AI consultants was really helpful for me as well, because it's just such a complicated issue, and all of the things that we're so scared about with AI and machine learning aren't that far in the future. And so it just really scared me on a personal level more than anything. But it was interesting to just see people who are genuinely excited about what robots can do.
No, exactly. I'm treating social media totally different after this. But for the last question, I know that we talked about a lot of different themes and how the series meant to us. Is there anything that we missed that you really want the audience to take away from watching the season of The Girlfriend Experience?
I mean, I think that, again, what I love about this show is that the viewer brings their own subjective experience, of course, to any show, but I think this show really lets you think for yourself, and it really lets you project your fears, your dreams, your hopes, all of that stuff about the personal relationships in your life, as well as your relationship with technology. It really kind of lets you think about that for yourself. So I think that it's been interesting talking to everyone today, because everybody has a very different approach to what they think the show is about. And so I just don't want to give anybody an answer, because it might not be their answer. I want people to think for themselves. I think that's what Iris would want.
Yes, you better tell people to think for themselves. If only we could all live by these words, life would be so much easier.
Oh God, I know.
But I thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I can't wait for everyone to watch this new season. Thank you for dealing with my terrible Wi-Fi.
Oh my God. Thank you, Sharronda, and thank you for your questions. I loved talking to you.
Oh, no problem. I had such a blast chatting with you. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye. Bye.